Welcome back to endofturn.com, and we're going to talk about functions now. So this is taking the first steps towards creating a really complex program application. Okay, so what we're doing here, this is still from the previous tutorial. This is the do while loop. And what we were doing was taking a name, and if it was blank we were continuously asking until we got a value we could appreciate. But what if we wanted to start taking their age or a list of their hobbies or anything like that? We'd have to repeat this code over and over again, and obviously we don't want to do that because it's the same code with just slight differences. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a method. So if we take this and cut it, okay, here console WriteLine is a method or a function, call it either interchangeably, of the console object. So it's called WriteLine. It takes a list of arguments which tell it how to perform its task, and then it returns a value. Well, this doesn't actually, it's void, so it means it returns nothing, but readLine would return a string. So we're going to define our own function which will get information from, after a prompt, from the console. It's static, our method. Note that I've come out of the main brace and I'm into the class program brace. Stay within there. Ignore the word static for now, just know that you need it because you're calling from a static context, which is the main method, because we're going to call our functions from here. Static itself is actually quite complex, and we'll go into that at a later date. What do we want our method to return? We want it to return a string, because it's the string of characters the user has input, and we need to give it a name. Get console input. Okay, now WriteLine and write have got to take a list of arguments telling it how to act. So how does our function act? What can we give it to allow it to act in different ways? So first of all, we're going to want different values to be input: the name, the age, etc. So we need to tell it what it's asking for. So if we give it a string and call it prompt, then that can be what it's going to ask for, and we'll see how that gets used in a moment. And then we're also concerned with whether we've not been allowing blank data to go in, so they have to have a name. So do we want them to enter blank data or not? Maybe it depends on what we're asking for. Some things are mandatory, some things are optional. Okay, so we have a boolean here, true or false. We either allow blanks or we don't. Okay, now if we paste that back in, right, so let's make a few changes. Success, false. String name, it's not name, it's generic input. Console name, actually no. If we use a placeholder and then say prompt, so whatever we're asking for, whatever we've given it, name, age, anything, it's going to put it here. Name equals readLine, actually. Input, this variable here equals readLine. Input equals this, and input cannot be blank. And right at the end, we're going to return, so what's going to get given back from a function call, it's going to be a string. We have a string called input, and that's what we want to give them back. That's what the user's input. What we need to change here is if input is blank, input cannot be blank, but maybe it can. So we only want to do this if the input is blank and we don't want blanks. So with booleans you can, there's a logical AND, so which is a double ampersand. So if two, I'll write it down, and not allow blank. So remember the exclamation mark is a negation of the boolean. So what the AND does is if this is true and this is true, then it's true overall, and we do this. If either or both of them are false, then we don't do this, we do this instead. Okay, that is the function. Oops, apologies. Get rid of that for the minute just so it compiles. And in the next tutorial we'll go on to call this function and see what we can do with it.